Hi, I'm Jennifer Douglas. As an energy work practitioner, I practice Eden energy medicine as well as Biofield Tuning and EFT Tapping. When I was introduced to the German New Medicine or GNM framework, I really wanted to make sense of how these different frameworks and modalities fit together. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of my take on how energy work helps and complements the GNM framework. And this is coming just from my perspective and experience. It does not represent any official organization. So the GNM framework is an amazing body of knowledge that helps to explain how our symptoms come from meaningful biological adaptations that our body is making and our brain is making in response to our psyche's interpretation of acutely distressing events in our lives. And Dr. Hammer, the founder of GNM, was an amazing scientist, and he was meticulous and detailed in the way that he examined what was going on in the brain, the specific relays in the brain that were impacted in these meaningful biological programs, and the tissue adaptations that were occurring in the corresponding organs. And he created this comprehensive map that shows when our psyche or subconscious is responding to an acutely distressing event that catches us off guard and makes us feel isolated, that it sets off a meaningful adaptation in our brain, in a specific relay of the brain and a corresponding organ in the body. Now, he mapped this out using extensive use of brain CT scans so he could see what was going on in these brain relays and how they changed over the course of the adaptation, as well as what the tissues in that organ were doing. He conducted almost 50,000 case studies in his lifetime, and he also showed by means of this map that the tissue adaptations in our organs follow a pattern based on the embryological layer they are associated with in our brains. So what that means is our brains have these different layers of embryological development, and based on which layer that organ is associated with, the tissue adaptation that takes place follows a certain pattern. So there is a predictability. Now, this body of work is an amazingly detailed contribution. But one thing that I think Dr. Hammer wasn't considering and maybe wasn't thinking about was the relationship between matter, the tissues in our body, the organs, and how matter is really composed of energy, the relationship between matter and energy. And we know now that all matter is energy in different forms, down to the level of our cells. Our cells are little batteries with electrical charges. And even at the atomic level, what we know now is that atoms are 99.99999% an energy field. So our cells have this battery electrical charge. Our organs produce these electromagnetic fields that extend well outside of our physical body. And even things like our fascia, the connective tissue in our body, we now know is an electrical semiconductor. So one thing that I would like to hypothesize here is that the energy that our bodies are made of, the energy that is the foundation, what we think of as matter, is the means by which these biological programs that we see in GNM are activated and are managed and turned on. So when we go into an active conflict phase or a healing phase, that happens instantaneously at the brain level and a corresponding organ. How does that happen so instantaneously? I would posit the explanation that one way it happens is because our bodies are energy pathways, and there's an instantaneous transmission through this electrical and electromagnetic energy of our bodies that connects the brain and the organ much faster than our neurons and synapses can even send that message. And so for me, in integrating energy work with GNM, there are a couple of ways that I think it's super valuable to do this. One of them is that when we know we have experienced a difficult event and we know we're in that distressing response, we have a lot of emotional reactions, we're not sleeping, we're not eating, we're going through it, we can use energy-based techniques to help us work through those emotional responses, to move us toward an emotional resolution so that we can come into the restoration or the healing phase. So in that active conflict phase, I see energy-based tools as a great way of helping us downgrade the intensity and duration of what we're experiencing so that we can restore and bring our bodies into restoration. And once our bodies do enter that restoration or healing phase, that's all about rebalancing. And energy work is fantastic at helping us to rebalance aspects of our body, mind, and spirit by working with us so that we can address where those energetic imbalances are. So for instance, if you're working with the meridian system with acupressure points or with acupuncture points, by rebalancing those meridians that correspond with specific organs, that correspond with the emotional themes of those organs, I find that there's a great connection there between what traditional Chinese medicine views as the emotional and physical components of those meridians and the way that GNM outlines the type of program and adaptation that's occurring in those organs. So to me, I see these energy work tools as a fantastic way to blend with the GNM paradigm so that we can understand what adaptation our body is making at a very biological level, but we can also work with that greater energy of our bodies, our physical bodies, of our emotions to help us resolve these experiences we have and help us through that healing to make it easier on us physically and emotionally.